Imagine you have a panic button, receptionist desk, and the receptionist notices an emergency. And notices an emergency starting to happen, the beginning of emergency, right? Imagine they see an armed person trying to gain access to your building.
Okay.
If that receptionist could hit a button and cause a bunch of different things to happen simultaneously, instantly, automatically, without anybody thinking about it, then you could initiate automated defenses. We need to talk about every single aspect of all those systems. So this is going to be a long video. So everybody, if you're watching at home, get yourself ready.
So if your organization's having an emergency, wouldn't it be kind of nice to be able to just press like a simple button to have all kinds of automated responses happen?
It would be nice if you had the ability to initiate all your automated defenses just with a single push of a button. Somebody notices that an emergency is happening, hit a button and get a bunch of different responses, all simultaneous. That would be really great for your organization. You could think about all the hazards that your organization is ever likely to encounter. You could think about what you would like to do in response. You would figure out how you would like your users to respond, and you could work backwards from there and create a whole bunch of different technologies that would make that responses easier. Now, if you have to buy stuff to make this happen, then that's not so great. But if you could take stuff you already had and tie all those things together, and now you have a much more powerful system than you had before, without having to spend a whole bunch of money.
Well, what kind of system would I need to be able to just do all these kind of automated assist?
So you have an intrusion detection system. You have a modern intrusion detection system. You have the Bosch G or G Series panel.
Okay.
This is very different than an old-fashioned burglar alarm. A Bosch G or G Series panel is intelligent. It's capable of making decisions. It's capable of taking information from lots of different systems. It's capable of sending commands to lots of different types of systems. Basically, it can act as a hub, and using your Bosch G and G Series intrusion detection system, you can create a lockdown system.
Okay, so we've got an updated panel, a current panel, and we have all these different things tied in. What kind of things are we talking about that we can perform? What kind of automated responses?
So everybody's seen these old World War II movies or these science fiction movies or whatever. There's a ship, and the ship is just sailing along, and they see an emergency happening.
They call a code red or something? Yeah,
the captain can say red alert or whatever. The captain can just say one command. And with one command, everybody springs into place. Everybody, they bring up the shields and they ready the weapons, and everybody goes to their battle stations, and they get ready for damage control, whatever. The point is that the captain sat down and thought about all the bad things that can happen to the ship, and the captain thought about all the capabilities that they have within the ship, and the captain thought about all the things that they could do in response to an emergency. And they sat down, they made a plan, and they trained with the plan, and they created a system where one command tells everybody what to do. One command brings all the emergency systems online and brings all the emergency systems together, but much more than the systems, it's the plan that's key to this whole thing. So, in our case, I got a panic button, right? Press a button. Simultaneously, the police are called, and everybody within the building or everybody within the organization gets alerted. There's information coming out of the speakers about the emergency and about what they should do about the emergency. And all the doors lock, or all the doors that need to be locked are locked, and the doors that need to be unlocked are unlocked. That happens automatically, simultaneously with everything else that's happening. And everybody that has a video console that's responsible for the security of the building, right away they have a screen with video of the incident happening. They didn't even know about the incident seconds ago. The incident is happening, and they've got all the information that the person at the receptionist desk that hit the button, they have the same information that they have. And everybody who's not at the screen, who's not sitting at a desk, who's not at a console, they get alerted too, because they get notifications on their phones. They can get a text message, email. People outside the organization, people in other buildings, they get an email, text message notification. People who are responsible for responding to that kind of emergency, they're getting notifications on their two-way radios. The same information that's coming out of the PA system is on their two-way radios, and all that's happening is simultaneous, instant. So you hit the button, and all these things happen at once.
So all I got to do is press a button, and all those different things will happen.
Yes,
just immediately. Well, that's
immediately. So let's talk about how that works. But this is going to be a long video. There's a bunch of things that need to happen. There's a bunch of different systems that need to be tied in together. Let's talk about how you can take all your systems, probably systems that you already have, or that just need a minor upgrade, to bring these capabilities together, and talk about how you get the system up and running. Okay, so first, you need the hub, like we talked about. So the hub, which is the one system that controls all the other systems. If you have a modern intrusion detection system, you have a Bosch G Series panel, you have a hub. You have an intrusion detection system that's more capable than an old-fashioned burglar alarm, capable of making decisions.
Okay, so we have all that in place, all the proper systems. So we press a button.
So you have a panic button. It'll be connect to the Bosch intrusion detection system. Either a traditional button like this, which is hardwired directly back to the intrusion detection system, or you can get a wireless button, something that connects to the intrusion detection system using a wireless receiver or a series of wireless receivers, wireless repeaters, either something that's meant to be fixed in place. So you have a button at specific vulnerable areas like classrooms, receptionist desks, you have evidence rooms or pharmacies, what have you, or you can even have a little pendant, a little remote that kind of looks like a remote for your car alarm, and you can carry that around. Obviously, if you have that, you need to do a full site survey to make sure that there are no dead spots. Okay. So you've got your intrusion detection system, which acts as the hub. You've got a panic button. The panic button is the thing that initiates this whole response.
So we talked about a couple things previously, like PA systems coming out and talking, reaching out. Do they have any kind of like a lighting system, like maybe strobes or something that would go off with it?
So there are a lot of different options for notification. So local notification, which is how you're going to alert the people that are in the building that the emergency is happening to. Okay. So traditionally, that's been sirens or bells. So just a loud woo-woo noise. So that doesn't tell you a lot of information, though. That just tells you that something is happening. It could be a fire, it could be an active shooter, it could be, any sort of thing. So the way to get more information has been by a series of strobes. So flashing lights, you have a siren, that's an audible notification. You have a strobe, that's a visual notification. A lot of places will have different colored strobes for different colored emergencies. So you can have a white strobe that indicates a fire. You can have a green strobe that'll indicate a weather emergency. You can have a blue strobe that'll indicate an active shooter. Or take it a step further, you could have a voice evac system. For example, the Presenza system from Bosch, which integrates right into the Bosch intrusion detection systems over the network. So you've got your Bosch G Series panel, you've got your Presenza system on the same network, and they can talk to each other. So that lets you do lots of granular response. You can program all sorts of responses. You can also get lots of different panels and lots of different buildings. So you can have a bunch of different buildings all talking to the same PA system. And the Presenza system gives you a lot of dynamic information. So you have the ability to create lots of different pre-programmed responses in the Presenza system, so you can get actual voice commands. So instead of just hearing a siren, or instead of just seeing a light and trying to remember what that means, you can get actual information with a voice evac system. Remember that people are very bad at making decisions in an emergency. So the more information you give them, the better. But even better than information is instructions. If you can tell people, what to do, they don't have to remember what they're supposed to do. They don't have to remember the plan. People in an emergency are bad at making decisions. You want to take as much information. Want to take as much decision-making responsibility away from them by giving them voice evac or voice instructions.
Okay, so you said we could do pre-programmed, but I can, if I wanted to, I could just take over the PA system and I could start talking to it in real time, right?
So you'll never be able to plan for every single type of emergency, because that requires you to have the kind of imagination that your adversaries might have. So the voice evac system will have the ability for you to speak instructions into the system. So you'll have a bunch of different pre-programmed instructions based on everything in the plan. But if anything happens to change the plan, or if anything is happening that you haven't planned for, you can always just pick up a speaker and start speaking into the system and say, give people the instructions that they actually need. Okay,
so this is already getting into a pretty big topic, because we press the button and instantly all these different things are happening.
Sure.
So, but they can't just be sirens and lights and stuff. I mean, the doors start locking down and stuff, I'm assuming, or unlock if necessary.
So if you have a Bosch G Series panel, and you have a Bosch Presenza system that's controlling the speakers, you can also have a Bosch AMS system. So Bosch AMS, which is the Bosch Access Control System, allows you to dynamically control doors. So you'll have all your electronic locks and connected to all your doors, and your doors will operate as normally throughout the day. So let's say you have, that all your doors, your exterior doors will be locked, and all your interior doors will be unlocked, because you want to have a free flow of traffic throughout your building. The Bosch B or G Series panel can tell the Bosch AMS system that it needs to go into lockdown mode. So the way we do that is with something called threat level.
Okay.
So the Bosch AMS system has 15 threat levels. A threat level is a predetermined behavior that can be programmed based on specific types of emergencies. So if you are operating normally, you need to immediately change the security posture of your entire system. You can do that with a single press of the button. Hit the panic button sends a signal to the G Series panel, the B or G Series panel sends a signal to the access control system, and it tells the system what doors to lock. So you can lock all your doors, or you can lock some doors and unlock other doors. And say, for example, you've got an active shooter. You want to hit a panic button, and that'll lock every single door in your system. That'll trap your active shooter and isolate them in a specific part of the building, and prevent them from gaining access to more victims. It'll prevent people from just wandering into the pathway of your active shooter. Okay. Or you might have a weather emergency, and in case of a weather emergency, you want one-way traffic. So you want to make sure that people can get to the area of refuge or to the safest part of your building, but cannot wander outside of the building and into the path of your tornado or whatever it is.
Okay. So we have the PA system talking, we have strobes going off if we have them, doors are locking and unlocking as necessary. Can I get live footage of what happened, or even playback at the same time when it happened?
So the Bosch B and G Series intrusion detection system integrates very nicely into the Bosch video management software, Bosch BVMS. You can create a camera call-up. So you hit the panic button, and it'll automatically bring up video on a screen. So you've got a console, you've got security manager, you've got an administrator, it'll automatically bring up associated videos. So when you're making your plan, you would want to consider what cameras are in the area. You would say, this camera sees the area that is covered by that panic button. What I want to happen is I want the receptionist to hit the panic button, and instantly an administrator can see what the receptionist saw. So basically, I want to hit the panic button, and it'll instantly bring up what the receptionist can see, what caused the receptionist to decide that an emergency is happening or an emergency is forming. So hitting the panic button, and locking all my doors, setting off my notification, but because the users in the building need to know a certain amount of information, but the administrator, the security people, they all need to know a lot more information. And right now I'm immediately bringing in the receptionist's view of the incident so that the administrator right away knows everything that their receptionist knows.
Okay, so just to do a small recap, right now, instantly after we press this button, we have camera footage where we need it. We have alarms going off, strobes, voice, doors are locking and unlocking, and that's just instantly.
That's all instant. So that tells everybody in the building or in the facility or in the organization what they need to know. But what about people outside? What about people who are not sitting at a desk? What about people who are not within earshot of the PA system? So for those people, we need to communicate. So there's two groups of people. There's the police, and there's people within your organization.
Okay.
So the Bosch G Series panel is going to communicate with both of those groups of people, but they're going to do it in very different ways. So the first set of people, the police, so the Bosch G Series panel is going to send a message to a central station monitoring center. Central Station Monitoring Center is going to instantly get a notification that a panic button has been activated, and they'll respond as they've been told to respond. So you need to make a plan. You need to say, hey, if there's someone hits that panic button, I want you to call the local police and tell them the panic button has been activated, and they need to respond. Every police station in America has plans in place for how they're going to respond, but you can fine-tune that and tell them you need to meet in this side, meet in that side, whatever it is. If your central station monitoring center is capable of it, it'll even send video, it'll even send camera call-up along with the notification. So in addition to video at the screens, at the consoles of the administrator and the security people within your organization, it's also going to send live video to the dispatcher, so the dispatcher can see what the receptionist saw, and the dispatcher can tell the police department what it is that they're seeing. So they can say, here's a description of the subject, here's a description of what it is that they're doing, so they'll know a lot more. In addition to that, in addition to notifying the police, it'll also notify anybody else you've designated as being responsible for this incident response. So you can send messages to two-way radios. It'll send whatever message that the PreSense system is sending to the PA system. It'll also send messages to specific types of PA radios. It'll also send messages by SMS text message. It'll also send messages by email, so you can send messages to up to 32 people simultaneously. It'll also send app notifications if you have that set up on mobile devices. So you can send text messages, you can send emails, you can send app notifications, you can designate languages. So you can say, if you have a multilingual workforce, again, in an emergency, you want to take as much decision-making responsibility away from people. If you have a multilingual workforce, even if they speak and understand English, you don't want them to have to translate in their head. So you can send a couple of notifications in English to people who rely on English. You can send a couple of notifications in French or a bunch of other languages, Spanish, Portuguese. You can send notifications in whatever language they have.
Okay.
So up to 32 recipients.
All right. So
And all this is happening simultaneously.
in some states, aren't there some kind of like a law when it comes to communicating with the police department about emergencies?
Actually, yes. In some places, you're actually required to use panic buttons in certain applications. So you're required to have a panic button that is connected to the police department. So if you're in one of these jurisdictions, you want to make sure that you have adequate panic buttons. You want to make sure you have enough panic buttons in enough spots, and you want to make sure that it's monitored by a central station monitoring center that is communicating with the police department, and you want to make sure that the police department is signing off on your lockdown plan.
Okay. So, and we've been talking today. We've talked about panic buttons, but you also hear the term duress button. Is there a difference between the two? Is they two separate technologies?
So panic button, duress buttons, they're the same. They're two names for the same technology, but different applications. Basically, panic button is an audible notification, and a duress button is a silent notification. So in a situation where audible notification either doesn't make a difference or makes the emergency more likely to be resolved then you'd want audible notification. For example, an active shooter system, a lot of people use panic buttons in active shooter situations. In weather emergencies, everybody uses panic buttons to protect against weather emergencies. But sometimes an audible notification will make things worse. For example, in banks, you'll very frequently see duress buttons being used in banks. And remember, a duress button is just a panic button that doesn't have an audible notification. A duress button is just a silent alarm, okay? Because in a lot of bank robberies, if a bank robber will hear a notification, when they hear a siren, they'll get jumpier, and then their chance of violence will increase. So you have a duress button, you'll have a button at the clerk, at the cashier. They'll hit the button, and it won't set off sirens, it won't set off strobes, it won't set off a voice evac system. It'll just send a signal to the Central Station Monitoring Center, which will then send the signal to the police. So if and this all goes back to the plan. So basically, you want to think about all the hazards that you might encounter as an organization. You want to think about how you would like your organization to respond to that emergency, and then you decide if you want a panic button system, if you want a duress system, if you want a lockdown system, what have you. Now, if you think you're going to be encountering multiple hazards, the most typical response to that is having multiple buttons, usually color-coded. So sometimes you'll go to sometimes I'll go to a customer and I'll see a bunch of different panic buttons. Usually active shooter is blue. Usually weather emergencies are green, or sometimes yellow. Yellow panic buttons are very frequent in chemical plants or anywhere where you can have a hazmat incident. Red buttons obviously are always used for fire emergencies. So we'll have different buttons color-coded and for different emergencies, because remember, we want to hit the button and automatically initiate automated defenses. We want to initiate a bunch of different responses simultaneously. So if we have a bunch of different buttons, if somebody sees an emergency start to happen, they don't have to think about what they should do.
Gotcha.
Hit a button, automated defenses get initiated.
So obviously there's a lot more to talk about here. And each application of the system is going to be unique, and it's going to have its own different facets. But is there a way that people can reach out and reach out to us for questions? Or
Absolutely. So every single panic button system, every single lockdown system, these are always very unique systems. It's based on the needs of your organization, and the nature of your organization depends on the nature of the hazards that your organizations face. So we're always here to talk about this. Please reach out to us at support@midches.com, and we're here to help.